Good evening from San Antonio. Today we're going to look at an interesting topic, obesity and secondary service connection. Before we get started, this presentation is a product of the San Antonio Coalition of Veterans and Families. Our mission, the immediate assistance for homeless veterans. Please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate your participation. Creators of this presentation, Mike Yeager and Bob Counsel. The presenter, me, Bob Counsel. The goals of this presentation. We're going to review the interconnection of weight gain and secondary service connection. We're going to review the 2017 VA General Counsel decision on this issue. And we're going to review the 2025 Adams versus Collins decision and the possible implications. And there's going to be an update on that decision. We include that also. A secondary service connection. If you're unfamiliar with the term, a secondary service connected condition will result in a disability or disease that was not incurred in the service, but can be medically attributed to the original service-connected condition, and a veteran can claim compensation for that condition. I have an example here. A veteran applies for a service connection for sleep apnea. The veteran is told that the sleep apnea is secondary to his obesity. The veteran argues the obesity is due to service-connected orthopedic injuries. Where does the VA stand on this? This came up in a general counsel decision that set precedent. In 2017, the general counsel decided that weight gain secondary to a service connection cannot be a secondary service connected condition in and of itself. However, in their decision, they added this. Obesity could qualify as an intermediate step between a service-connected disability and a current disability. For example, whether a veteran could establish entitlement to service-connected hypertension if a veteran's service-connected back disability causes obesity due to the lack of exercise, which leads to the hypertension. The legalese, what does this mean? Okay, so in regards to the previous paragraph, 1, whether the service-connected back disability caused the veteran to become obese. 2, if so, whether the obesity as a result of the service-connected disability was a substantial factor in causing the hypertension. And 3, whether the hypertension would not have occurred but for the obesity caused by the service-connected back disability. If the questions are answered in the affirmative in all 3 questions, the hypertension may be service-connected on a secondary basis. So, to successfully present this claim, a veteran would need a very precise nexus letter from a doctor addressing the 3 points from the previous slide, corroborating medical evidence, and assistance in presenting the case. There's a great possibility of needing to appeal. These are very involved cases. So you need representation, which means a service officer. I found a successful case online from the Board of Veterans' Appeal. The case is a really good blueprint to follow in strategizing and presenting a case. If you have a similar case, it's worth taking a look. Adams versus Collins, a case from 2025. If you want to see the case, use the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims and the number, and it'll come up. The importance of this case is it found discrepancies in the VA Office of General Counsel's decision. This is an excerpt of Adams versus Collins, excuse me. Thus, we hold that the General Counsel's opinions finding that obesity is not a disease for purposes of secondary service connection is an impermissible interpretation of the statute. So they're questioning the General Counsel decision. The court's action in Adams versus Collins. The original claim was remanded back to regional office. It seems that the court is questioning why obesity cannot be considered a secondary service connection. I have down that the VA is likely to appeal this decision, which they did do. Will obesity be service connectable? The issue is far from over. There's likely to be more court action, which will take years to settle. The VA currently has no rating system for obesity. Okay, this is the update on Adams versus Collins. In May 15, 2026, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit dismissed the appeal after the parties agreed to dismissal, and the court issued the mandate the same day. So both the VA and Adams decided to drop the case. The Federal Circuit order itself is non-precedential, meaning it did not create a new Federal Circuit merits opinion, but it did end the appeal. So we still don't have an answer on exactly what obesity is, and this case didn't try to set sort of a precedence in this area. And then, as a result of the appeal ending, the Veterans Court held that the VA General Counsel opinion was not persuasive to the extent it categorically treated obesity as unable to qualify as a disability when obesity causes functional impairment. So the jury is still out on obesity being possibly service connected. The court left undisturbed the general rule that obesity is not ordinarily service connected on a direct basis as a disease or injury incurred in the service. Okay, so it's saying obesity in and as of itself isn't directly service related. Didn't say it couldn't be service connected, just said not service related. The court held that in the secondary service connection context, whether obesity itself was a disease or injury is not the controlling question. And that's a fancy way of saying the intermediate step consideration still exists. Okay, to recap, at this moment, obesity is not considered a secondary service connection. Plain and simple. It can be the intermediate step for another condition to be secondary service connected, but three conditions have to be met. And those three conditions. The SC condition, the service connected condition, caused the obesity. The obesity contributed substantially to the secondary condition being claimed. The secondary condition cannot be attributed to another cause. It has to be linked back to the service connection. And finally, cases involving obesity as an intermediary cause are very complex and may need to be appealed. Review the Board of Veterans Appeal case provided. Get assistance in preparing your claim. Work with a service organization. And again, I give the Adams versus Collins case. These are complicated cases. They are winnable. But again, takes some preparation, takes good representation. Well, thank you for joining us. Good luck with your cases. Please feel free to hit the like and subscribe to our channel. Have a good evening.